What's up, ladies and gents? This is KSigKid coming at you with another Destiny video. Today it's time for our weekly Q&A session. You know the drill by now. If you've got a question you'd like to see me potentially answer next week, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below, and we'll see if I can go ahead and get to it. If you enjoy this video, go ahead and smack that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now this week I've been playing a lot of Uncharted 4. I really want to finish up that playthrough. There hasn't really been a game that I have finished since I started playing Destiny, and I love the Uncharted series, so I really want to finish up Uncharted. So because I've actually been playing Uncharted for this past week a little while, I haven't done a whole lot of Destiny, so this Destiny clip is actually from around the end of the Iron Banner last week. And as usual, my Crucible gameplay starts off a little bit slow, and then somehow I turn it around mid-match and do really well. Now, I don't always do really well at the end, but I often do better at the end than I do in the beginning, as you can see right here. I actually feel like that's a little bit of the reason why I struggle a little bit more with the Trials of Osiris, because you don't have that fluid, constant gameplay going on. You have these sharp cuts and then restarts all the time, and for some reason, I really struggle starting off. I really need to be in the match and get the feel of how everybody's moving around, get an idea of what they're thinking and stuff like that in order to really succeed. And for some reason, that just kind of hinders me in the Trials, though honestly, I haven't played Trials in a while. And that's kind of leading into our first question. We've got Trevor asking, what's the best exotic to use for Trials of Osiris? And like I said, I haven't played Trials since the April update. I really need to go flawless and get that kitty cat emblem. I need to talk to Autobots and see if he's still around and playing Destiny. I haven't really seen him online for a little while, so I might have to hit him up on Twitter. I would say, though, if you're going to pick an exotic for Trials of Osiris, just one, you're going to want to pick an exotic that's going to be useful pretty much all the time. So a lot of people wear Truth in the Trials of Osiris, but you're really only wearing the Truth for one round. If I'm going to pick an exotic overall for the Trials to say there is one best exotic, I'm going to pick the Might of Multi-Tool. And that's just because you are always going to have a use for your primary weapon, you're always going to have ammo for your primary weapon, and with the Mida, you're going to be able to get your kills from a safe distance, and of course then you can still rock out your shotgun or your sniper rifle, and sniper rifles are always king in the Trials of Osiris. So if I have to pick one exotic, I'm going to say that the Mida is definitely the best exotic to use in the Trials of Osiris. Next up, we have Dylan asking what my first console is. So actually the very first thing that I was playing actual video games on, aside from that home Pong machine that I talked about last time, was my computer. It was an Atari 800 XL computer, and I could play pretty much what would be considered, I guess, emulated games for the Atari 2600 that I would play on it. I played on the big floppy disks and stuff, and that was a lot of fun. That's the first real system that I got into playing video games. And this is whenever I was really young. I had one joystick, and it had a black bottom on it, and a button on the bottom, and then a orange type of handle that was coming off with a white button on top of that. And I just would sit in my chair on the thing, and I just use that and play all the different games that there were. All the different favorites that people would have on their Atari 2600 are things that I would play on my computer. And so that's the first thing that I played. That's kind of what really got me really started and excited to play video games. Whenever the Nintendo Entertainment System came out, I did not get it for a long time. Eventually, it was my birthday. I'm not exactly sure what birthday it would have been. I might have been 7 or so. I'm not sure. What grade are you, or how old are you whenever you're in 4th grade? I was definitely in 4th grade, and my birthday was on a Friday, and my one buddy had a Nintendo, and I loved the Nintendo so much, and I kept talking to him, and I was like, hey, you know, you gotta bring your Nintendo, you know, it's my birthday, we're gonna come over, we're gonna have a sleepover, you gotta bring your Nintendo, we're gonna rent all these games from the game store. You know, people used to rent video games back in the day. We're gonna rent these different games, we're gonna rent Bart versus the Space Mutants and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, and it's gonna be awesome. And I just reminded him about that constantly, over and over again. He's like, yeah, I got it. Well, it turns out I was actually getting a Nintendo for that birthday. So I was so excited whenever I opened it up, and I called him and I was like, I got a Nintendo, you don't have to worry about bringing yours or anything like that. And he's like, I know. He was like, you kept talking to me about it. He was like, I didn't want to say that I already knew that you were getting one. So he kept a really good secret there. That was pretty awesome. So the Nintendo was definitely my favorite, though. Whenever I had the Nintendo, I actually had to sign a contract with my parents that I would only play like 1 hour a day. I think I got like 5 hours out of the week that I was allowed to play the Nintendo on. Now that lasted for a little while until they just basically stopped enforcing that. But that was definitely, back in the day, that was kind of the thing. People didn't want their kids hooked up to video games and TVs all the time. It was like, go outside and play. And my parents knew if I was going to start playing this thing, it was going to get addicting and a lot of fun to play. So they put that in place to kind of limit the gaming that I had whenever I was a little bit younger. But eventually, obviously, that wore off. Next up, we have our title question from The Infinite asking if Destiny is going to die out or not. And this is a really interesting question, and I feel like we kind of want to talk about it every now and then, because Destiny definitely runs in cycles. There are content drops, and then there are content droughts. And in the droughts, people love to say that Destiny is dead, and no one's ever coming back, no one's ever going to play the game again. But as soon as new content gets released, Destiny is a madhouse filled with players. In fact, even whenever there's content just like the Iron Banner, Destiny fills up a decent bit. But whenever our next drop comes, and we're going to start hearing about our next drop on Thursday, whenever that comes out, Destiny is going to be a madhouse. And what I think as far as this generation, and whenever I say this generation, I mean the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, I think for this generation, that Destiny is pretty much in a place where nothing is going to kill it except for potentially itself, and I don't see that happening at all. Right now, Destiny has such a huge and installed user base that it's really difficult for any game to come in and kind of take away that user base for any legitimate and serious amount of time. Think about how many games came out that were supposed to be Destiny killers. Like Fallout 4, whenever that came out, oh, Destiny's dead. Division came out, Destiny's dead. And yet, that's just not been the case. It's just simply not the case. And that's because Destiny was first. And there's a whole lot to be said for being first. For instance, in the last gaming generation, Xbox 360 came out first, and it crushed the PlayStation 3 in sales. In this generation, PlayStation 4 is out, and it is dominating the Xbox One in sales. So being first means a whole lot in these things, because you get people in and invested in your property first. And then it's really difficult to leave. Some people can obviously leave, some people just the game is not for them, but overall I think Destiny is going to be fine and in a good place for this entire generation unless something colossal ends up happening. And little missteps or content droughts for a few months are definitely not colossal missteps. I'm talking about something massive in order to kill it on this generation. Now, whenever you move into the next generation of consoles, it's a whole different ballgame. Because again, if something else comes out brand new that is absolutely incredible, and Destiny takes its sweet time in coming out for the next console, then you could see a big switch. But for right now, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Destiny is going to be just fine for this generation. Next up, we have another hot button issue, and that's Marcos asking about skill-based matchmaking. So this is pretty much one of the biggest issues that competitive PvP players have in general. And I think skill-based matchmaking kind of is the boogeyman for all things wrong with PvP. Whether it's actually the case or not, people are going to blame things on skill-based matchmaking. That's my first thought on it. I think that people are always going to blame skill-based matchmaking on whatever's going wrong with their game experience. And I don't think that is necessarily fair. I do think that connection needs to be a priority. I think if you're in matches where you're getting all types of terrible issues where people are lagging all over the place, and by lagging, I don't mean just tiny little bits, but I mean legitimately serious things. Again, lag, people complain about lag a lot of times, and sometimes it's very, very, very minor, and sometimes it's significantly noticeable, and that's the real problem. So if you're doing something where you're prioritizing skill over connection, I think you do have a significant problem, but Bungie's already talked about and said that they are not doing that anymore. I don't know what their formula is, and nobody that's making a YouTube video or streaming can really even say that they truly know what's actually going on behind the scenes as far as our matchmaking goes. I think that there definitely should be some skill involved, and if there is the top 1% sweaty community that's out there that's upset that they can't come and pub stop myself or other players along my same skill level, because, you know, they're just too good. I think that you have to fight people that are too good. You have to fight people that are, you know, less skilled too. Just that little bit of a mix. I think skill-based matchmaking is fine, but I don't think that you can make that your main priority. And I think whenever you can get those custom games going on, it's going to make life all the better for all parties involved. And finally, for our last question, because I am terrible with time management, we've got Big JX asking what superpower I would pick. And I think if I can go for the combo of the telepathy and telekinesis, that's what I would go for. Now, the one caveat is, as long as I don't have to hear what everybody is thinking all the time, as long as I can kind of pick and choose a little bit, I think those superpowers would be great because they would be the most useful in your day-to-day life, in my opinion. Anyway, guys and gals, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smack that like button and subscribe to the channel. Check out these awesome videos. Good luck with your raids, your drops, the Taken King, and I'll see you around in Destiny. You're my superhero.